Hello, I am the narrator. And before this episode begins, Maddie and Dr. Vince Neumann will be talking about a very evil creature that you can become. Without further ado, let the show begin. Good morning, everybody. My name is Maddie, and today we're going to be talking about the Wendigos. What is it? And did it come from a movie or a video game? Alright, so we're going to be the Wendigos from the game Until Dawn. Now, what do you need to know about them? A good question. Basically, these Wendigos are creatures that actually used to be human. I know. Well, it's more of a curse, actually, in that whenever someone is so desperate to live, or they're just crazy and they eat people, they eat flesh, they become a cannibal, that's whenever the Wendigo curse comes and gets them and transforms them into this super creepy, scary creature. Now, the Wendigos from the game, you can see they're extremely creepy with their elongated limbs. I mean, they're like human giraffes at this point. They are also very pale, no hair, and their eyes, they almost seem like they're blind and sick looking. But don't let your guard down because they look slow and sick. No. So, quote, capable of incredible burst of speed, they are able to keep pace and even outpace their opponents simply without trying. So yeah, these Wendigos are extremely strong, fast, agile, like a stick ninja. Just like, imagine that, like, crawling all over the ceiling, just oh man, that'd be terrifying. Yep. Let's see. What is really cool about them is that they kind of have an ability where they're able to mimic sounds, kind of like a mockingbird, but it's very accurate, and they often mock or mimic other human voices to kind of lure you in, Their skin is also extremely tough, tougher than anything ever, because it can't get pierced by bullets nor knives, which is higher than the technology we already have, which is scary. But yeah, there is kind of a way to kill them in the game, which is burning them alive. So, yeah. Okay, now, the game, Until Dawn. What's that about? Good question. This is a very, kind of like an older game, but let me tell you, the graphics are impeccable. This game likes to focus around this idea that you're controlling basically a horror movie. So, there's like a lot of camera angles and like cutscenes and whatnot, so if you're into that or not, then there you go. Basically the story goes is like these big group of teenagers go up to a mountain one winter night to kind of have fun and party and whatnot. Well, the time goes by and it goes south, the party goes south, because one girl runs off in the snow and then another chases after her, and it's just, they end up dying. Yeah, and it's very tragic, and they're all hurting, the group is all hurting from it, so eventually, a year's pass, it's basically kind of like an anniversary. They all go back up to that mountain and that cabin and whatnot to kind of move past it and whatnot. Well, there's a plot twist in this. Basically, one character could not get past it. It hurt him too much and actually made him insane. That's right. He fell off his rocking chair and he basically lost it and kind of tricked his friends to coming back up to the mountain so that he can basically torture them. Not like physically torturing them, but like scaring the bejesus out of them so that they can feel what he felt, as well as the girls that died in the snow and whatnot, fell off a cliff, So, yeah. Now you're thinking, okay, well, where do the Wendigos come in? That's a good question. Well, you might not actually, like, connect the dots right away, but there's actually hints all the way at the very beginning of the game that there's Wendigos hunting them and, like, running around and whatnot. And basically, like, through the middle of the game, you start seeing, okay, maybe there's something else going on in these forests that are, like, hunting these characters. And then a little bit further, you start to find out that, oh yeah, there are monsters on this mountain, and these characters have to survive. And the way to beat this game is basically you have to, you know, save all of your characters until the morning where you get rescued. And since it's kind of based on like a movie, you know, you've got your characters that always split off. Very typical thing to do. So you actually bounce between them in their little stories and quests and whatnot. There's also a very cool game that, like, where your choice matters and you can accidentally get your characters killed off and whatnot. So yeah.
The interview. How close is it related to the inspiration?
Hello, I am Maddie with the interview, and I'm here with a fellow YouTuber. So can you introduce yourself to the camera?
Yes, my name's Mark. On the internet, I'm known as Markiplier.
Do you remember playing Until Dawn?
Yes, I do. I actually had to stop in the middle of the game just to restart it.
What? Why?
Because Ashley died. She was my favorite character. And Chris. I couldn't live with that. I couldn't live that I got her killed. So I started the game over. I could live with Matt dying. That was fine. But not Ashley. So I started all over and I did it correctly.
Oh, okay, so you do remember. That's it. That's good. So what can you tell me about the Wendigos in the game?
Yes, well, let's see. So, the Wendigos are, yes, like the main antagonist problem. But in the beginning of the game, it kind of like misleads you to thinking that there's a killer with the teenagers. But you can actually see like there's hints with the Wendigos there in the beginning. There was this hunter, you see. This hunter that would hunt all of these Wendigos, and you do it with like this flamethrower. Super cool. Well, throughout the game, you can like see the flame of like the battles, whatnot throughout the game, and as well as a lot of the shrieking from the Wendigos trying to scare their prey, kind of a thing. Well, it wasn't until like for the game you start to realize, yes, there's Wendigos and why they're there, and you know how they work basically. And it wasn't until like you get to this hospital part, this mental asylum kind of a thing, which is just messed up. That's whenever you start to encounter a lot of Wendigos, as well as back in the cabin at the very, very end of the game.
Thank you for your time. This has been Maddie with the interview. Back to the main show. Alright, so the Wendigos in the game are actually full out inspired by 100% the actual Wendigos in like the legends and whatnot. So, no hard research there. But what is really cool, and I think that makes the game so much more scarier, is how exact it is to the actual legends of the Wendigo. I mean, down to the point with like the designs of the Wendigo as well as the characteristics. And whenever Dr. von Schleumann starts talking about the actual Wendigos, you could start adding it together and be like, wow, that is very accurate. So yeah, spooky spooky.
A clip of the character. And are there any Easter eggs or hidden things?
In the description, I'm gonna be super enthusiastic about this, there is a video of a Wendigo crushing a dude's head. if you want to see that, you can. It is gory, you know, because, like, all the blood. But it's also kind of a good close-up of the Wendigo, so yeah, it is kind of a horror game, so, you know. But also, there is a very interesting fact or detail that the creators put into this story, and that whenever a Wendigo, basically, if you want the Wendigo, sorry, but like the Wendigo, I don't really know how to word this correctly, but basically, when a Wendigo eats a lot of humans, it becomes stronger, and the more it eats, the stronger it gets, basically, which is kind of interesting to think. And there's a quote in the game, or not game, but like, okay, quote. Wendigos battle it out in the cabin. Hannah, which is one of the Wendigos, or kids that turned into the Wendigo, is able to overpower every single one of them. This is probably due to the fact that Hannah is possessed by a Mecha Pichu Wendigo spirit, which is the strongest Wendigo. It was basically one of the very strong Wendigos in the game, and you can kind of see it. I don't have a clip of it, but if you do see it, you can basically see that Hannah, the one Wendigo, is actually bigger than the rest, and is just like ripping heads off and whatnot. So, yeah. There's also a really cool thing that the creators put in, is how sadistic these Wendigos are with hunting and like creative with killing and whatnot. So, again, with another quote. Killing their prey, such as impaling them on hooks, gouging out their eyes, or even tearing their jaws off. They're also very intelligent with the way they hunt. For example, quote, screeching and screaming, usually as a means of frightening their prey and moving. I just think that's really cool because these Wendigos are so intelligent, they are basically aware that they can only see movement. So they've come up with this technique of scaring their prey into moving, like forcing them to move and whatnot, instead of just being slow and quiet and like prowling around. You know, I think that's really fascinating because Wendigos are very intelligent creatures.
Questions.
Alright, so I have a question right here, and it says, how does the curse work? Okay, well in the game, I probably didn't mention it very much, but basically, there's this mountain, this main mountain, or hill, mountain, yes, mountain, I'm getting those two mixed up. This mountain that the entire game was focusing on, which was called Blackwood Mountain. And these Wendigo spirits that can't really possess anyone yet were trapped deep in the cave through like magic and whatnot. Eventually were released, and so now they can go around waiting for someone to be weak enough to want to eat flesh, and that's whenever they go in, possess, and take over the person. Because they can't do anything unless someone consumes flesh, consumes another human. So, yeah. Doctor, you're up. Okay. What's wrong? Well, I wanted to do the Wendigos because they're like my favorite mythical creatures. You're doing it. Oh. Well, you already know a lot about the Wendigos. Like how smart they are. Yeah, and that they mimic other people's voices so you can walk right to them. Or that they're a winter-based creature. Yeah, and then that there's a lot of stories. The Wendigos were based around the colonization of America. Yeah, see, you already know so much. And you can sit and listen to me. You can learn more that way. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. von Schnorman, and today we're going to be talking about the Wendigos.
Where the legend/myth came from. Information about the creature.
Now, the stories of the Wendigos are all up north in America, like in Canada, Minnesota, Tora, what is it? Antora. There is also these large groups of people that also shared a lot of these stories, which were called the Algonquins. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Well, okay, so these Wendigos, they also come in different names. There's also the Witigo, the Witico, and then the Witico. Which, surprisingly enough, all of these names, even the Wendigo name, all mean evil spirit that devours mankind. Interesting. So, these Wendigo stories, there's of course this Wendigo spirit that roams and will possess people that do cannibalism, as well as have a lot of greed or have done murder. Yeah. Quote. Where is it? Any survivor might have felt compelled to cannibalize the dead in order to survive. Other versions of the legends cites that humans who display extreme greed, gluttony, and excess might also be possessed by a Wendigo. So yeah, these stories kind of teach people to be pure-hearted, I guess.
How it looks, what powers or abilities does it have?
So there are a few different designs of the Wendigo. Or like the original Wendigos. Not these ones that look like walking deers. No. But most, if not all, of the descriptions still follow the same idea, which is, quote, its descendant skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushed out against its skin. So it's very bony, and you can see basically everything under its skin. It's complainant and ashy gray of death. And its eyes pushed back into its sockets, the Wendigo looks like a giant skeleton. That's basically a description of that. They also have a bit of yellow tintness to their skin as well as their teeth, and can still have hair that's like very gross. Gross, tangly, crazy hair. But if you go even further, there's kind of a different resemblance to the Wendigos. So, quote, North American pop culture, it is usually looking like a werewolf, vampire, or yeti, or some combination of therefore. So, it could also be something that is very hairy and pale. Okay, so the Wendigo spirit, Wendigos don't really have much of powers. It's mostly just like, heightened senses, but the spirits, they have powers to control a human as well as completely deform them into the monster that they are, if first cursed by eating a man, you know. they also have this incredible mocking ability to, like, you know, copy anyone perfectly to lure people in. So you gotta be careful. It's not really understood how they can do that, but they can.
Is it mortal or immortal? Where does it live?
Wendigos can be killed, but I currently don't know how. So you still got that mystery. But it's kind of one of those things in, like, unless they're killed, they're still alive for all of eternity. Kind of a thing. And they're kind of being able to be killed. I mean, their spirits just released back and they find a new host when somebody becomes a cannibal. So it's kind of like that what you gonna do kind of a thing.
An interview. Are there any sightings of the creature?
Hello, I'm Dr. Von Stormen, here with the interview. I'm here to interview not one, not three, but 2 people. Starting with this doctor here, who is an expert in diseases. Yes, hi, my name's Dr. Max, and I've spent many, many years studying the mental illnesses. Okay, so judging by that, I can assume you've had experience with the Wendigo disease. So is there anything you can tell me about that? Oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. Let's see. There's a story that someone told me about this. There's this Wendigo disease, this man named Ojikri. He was a chef, and he killed 14 people because he thought they were going to turn into Wendigos. And I actually, I brought my book here, and I actually have a quote directly from it right here. So, here we go. Quote, claims to have defeated 14 Wendigos during his lifetime. Members of his own band, who has been taken with the insatiable, incredible desire to eat human flesh. In the letter asking Fiber, which is Ojikri, that's his last name and whatnot, was usually asked by his family members to kill a very sick loved one before they turn into a Wendigo. So, yeah. So thank you for your time. Now we're going on with the second interview. So, sir, what can you tell me about yourself? Hi, my name's David. I have 3 cats, and I have a huge collection of books. Have you read anything about Wendigos? Yeah, actually, I read a book that was dedicated to Wendigos. It was written by a man named Algonquin Blackwood, actually. And he wrote about the story of this hunter who was, he likes to hunt often, but he, was hunting one winter day and, couldn't hunt anything. He also got terribly lost in that storm. So, desperate to stay alive, he was, wandering around until he eventually found these people that he consumed and ate. And if you know anything about Wendigos, then he became one. And now he basically haunts that forest as the Wendigo, hunting other people. I see. Thank you for your time. This has been Dr. Von Stormen with the interview. Back to the main show. So, if I remember correctly, it's been a few minutes, I guess, but basically in the description there's a video, from what I can remember, it's kind of like a animated story about a Wendigo and almost catching somebody. So, yeah. Also, Wendigos will go after any type of human, as long as it's human. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a child, an adult, a type of race, no. If you are in its territory, they will hunt for you.
Who they hunt for? How to avoid them?
First of all, if you can resist being a cannibal, you're in the right direction. You're on a straight path of being a human. But being hunted by a Wendigo is practically impossible to survive from. Because of how high of an intelligence they are, they, like, because they're kind of like part human, they still have that very like creative and sadistic mind. So not being in one of their tricks is practically impossible. You have to have so much luck as well as intelligence to just survive.
Any questions?
Okay, so I have a question here, and actually has something to do with the interview I did. So, what was that Wendigo disease? Okay, so, yes, the doctor, Dr. Max, was nice enough to give us a kind of story about it, because I know she can't really, like, say patients' names and whatnot because of privacy. But after talking to her some more, she told me that, it's kind of like a very old disease that messes with the mind, and that people will have kind of like the want, the hunger for humans, like the edibility of their flesh becomes more unresistible kind of a thing. Well, there's also this counteract thing that happens also with the disease, that people become terrified of becoming a cannibal. I mean, it's a constant like fighting back and forth with your head. And if not properly treated, this disease can get very worse, and the people can become very antisocial as well as violent. And kind of like, coincidentally enough, with the Wendigos, this disease also pops up more in the wintertime. So, yeah, kind of a little bit of a coincidence. Maybe, I don't know. So this is unfortunately the end of the episode. If you are fascinated by the Wendigos from Until Dawn, as well as the Wendigos from Native American folklore, there are links in the description that go more into detail about all of the information we found about it. And there's actually quite a lot of information I left out in this episode, so feel free to read. If you've enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, and have a nice day. Good night. Bloopers. Activate. I think I've explained that very well. I'm not sure. The game is kind of confusing to me, because you're just bouncing between characters, so there's kind of like a different side plot to each of them. Basically, you just have to run around and survive the Wendigos. And like, anyways, I kind of, after reading my stuff again, kind of want to watch a video of like all the possible deaths for your characters, because it mentions like, you know how it mentions that like you gouge your eyes out. I'm like, I haven't seen that, nor have I seen someone's jaw ripped off, which I'm not even sure how that kills somebody. But I guess it's just like enough blood loss. Yeah, I don't know. I've also been on the internet too much because I found like this super weird tumor that grows on you from birth. And like, it's not like a normal tumor that can become cancer and kill you or anything. No. It's like one where it grows like different types of tissue, bones, hair, even an eyeball. Ugh. I don't know where I went, but I found it. Ugh. I don't even know what I was doing. I was just watching like YouTube videos. So, yeah. I'm cringing a little. I don't know, that was kind of interesting. The Wendigos can also possess people that are like very greedy and want a lot. that also adds a little bit more personality to them, I guess. I don't know. Not like the Wendigos have much personality, they're just hungry all the time. I wonder what their metabolism is like. Do they just poop while they're running? And they don't even digest anything, it just goes right through them? Or what if they don't poop at all? What if it's just like all of it is digestive and it's just all of it is energy? I don't know. Do they hibernate? I don't know. They're like a shaved bear. Oh my god, they're nothing like that. Shaved bears? Oh man, they're like chupacabras. But, anyways. Is usually living like a werewolf, vampire, or a yeti. What would a vampire yeti look like? Would it just be like a very big man that's kind of like hairy and just like fangs like a walrus? Imagine a vampire like, yeah, that's, oh man, a vampire, that's how you, that's how they attract ladies, is whoever has the biggest fangs. So yeah, this one dude is taking steroids, his fangs look like giant walrus things that just go all the way down to the floor, and it's like, hey ladies, how you doing? Yeah, that's what you see. I can't help her, I don't care. My battery's dead! How is it still recording? It's red! This is the end of the video, end of the video, end of the video. Pew pew. End of the video, end of the video. This is the end of the video. Pew pew. Pew pew. Pew pew. End of the video, end of the video, end of the video. Oh oh.